and His Royal Highness Prince Charles, who can trace his ancestry back to Romania's dark and distant past.
The genealogy shows that I'm descended from Vlad the Impaler, you see. So I do have a bit of a stake in the country.
As it were.
The BBC's royal correspondent, Nicholas Witchell.
Bloody brilliant. I can't bear that. He's so brilliant.
In his early years, Prince Charles dated a number of women, but his first love was Camilla Parker.
Charles was actually forbidden to marry Camilla because she was Catholic, and many believe that Diana was forced upon him.
On July 29, 1981, Prince Charles married Lady Diana Spencer in arguably the grandest royal wedding of the 20th century.
The public instantly embraced Diana. She was only 19, she was very beautiful, and she was widely billed as a commoner even though she came of a very old aristocratic family.
Behind closed doors, it was widely believed that he wasn't in love with her, and it turned out later he did admit that he was never in love with her.
Savile would seize young secretaries by the arm and then run his lips up to their shoulder. This was at St James's Palace, and he added that Savile's behaviour was a cause for concern. Reports of Savile's unusual behaviour in royal circles came about as details emerged of a surprise role for him as a counsellor for Prince Charles and Princess Diana during their marital difficulties, and a request from Prince Charles to help with the image of Sarah Ferguson. The intimate access Savile enjoyed to the royal inner circle did puzzle some.
As Jimmy Savile became one of Britain's most popular entertainers, host of the smash hit program Top of the Pops, as he forged a reputation as a tireless fundraiser, as he was knighted by the Queen and the Pope, he was, it now seems, leading an appalling double life, sexually abusing scores of young girls and some boys, some in hospitals, some in care homes, some in the very studios that made him a star.
Including, presumably, ladies and gentlemen, myself, who, rather ironically, am constantly accused of being anti-science, are somehow unconsciously biased, creates the implication that many of us are somehow secretly conspiring to undermine and deliberately destroy the entire market-based capitalist system which now dominates the world.
A £38 million supermarket depot, a £5 million hotel, London's Oval cricket ground, and Dartmoor Prison, which rakes in £667,000 a year in rent from the government. Just some of the assets in Prince Charles's private estate/business empire. It may have earned him £19 million last year, but the perks of being Duke of Cornwall are priceless. That's the Tamar Bridge. It links the vast, picturesque counties of Devon and Cornwall. Now, we've just come across it and we've paid a toll charge of £1.50, part of which goes to Prince Charles because the bridge stands in the river and the Duchy owns all the Cornish riverbeds. In fact, in terms of water, Prince Charles is somewhat of a local Poseidon. He owns most of the Cornish foreshore, including beaches and harbours. So the boats here will pay a mooring fee to the Duchy. And medieval law dictates that any dolphins, whales, porpoises or sturgeon found around the Cornish coast are also royal fish. The Duchy of Cornwall gets free legal advice from the government. It pays tax voluntarily. If you live and die in Cornwall without a will, your estate goes to Prince Charles. Even treasure washed up on a Cornish beach belongs to the Duke. But crown immunity means that most of the time, the Duke of Cornwall is above the law.
We get the feeling that the Duke of Cornwall does treat it very much as a business. For instance, a year or two ago, you suddenly had to obtain a licence if you wanted to go metal detecting. And that's because the Duchy of Cornwall felt that it was perhaps losing a business opportunity to get money in.
And its notorious secrecy means that for 300 years, historians and lawyers have been complaining about the lack of transparency in the way the fiefdom of the Princes of Wales is run.
He enjoys the arrogance of privilege. On the one hand, he claims the duchy is a private estate, except when it's inconvenient, in which case it's no longer a private estate, it's part of the crown and enjoys the privileges of the crown. And it's offensive, it's just plain offensive.